Kay Burley with Stig Abel on LBC.
Are we a nation of lazy losers?
Sporting-wise or generally?
Well, I'm thinking about sporting-wise particularly, but I'm sure you've got a view. 0345 6060 973 is the number to call. That's certainly what Heather Watson, our tennis number one, has been saying. She has been knocked out, sadly, of Wimbledon in this latest round, and she says that she's appealing to British tennis bosses to step in and stop lazy players wasting their talent. She's suggesting that we have got the talent, we are just lazy. What do you think? Let us know, 84850. If you'd like to text us, you can tweet us directly at kburley at Stig Abel. Or why not give us a call, 0345 6060 973. Not sure? Want more information? Well, Paul Jessop is CEO of sports charity Tennis for Free, and he joins us live. Hello to you. Morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. What do you make of what Heather had to say?
Yeah, some very interesting comments there, and I think it's certainly the case that if you're going to be at the top level of any sport, then you've got to give it 100%, be very, very focused and completely committed to your training. You can't rely on talent alone.
And do we mollycoddle people, do you think? Do we, so, if you sort of get in the system, particularly with tennis, that you're sort of looked after in a very cosseted fashion until you finish your career? Should we be more ruthless and say, look, if you're not going to win, you're out?
I think there's certainly a fine line on that point. I think dipping below that line, you're sometimes not getting the support you perhaps need. But equally, above that line, yeah, there can be a bit of mollycoddling. And there's certainly no question that the National Tennis Centre is probably one of the best facilities, even in the world as far as elite performance.
That's the point, isn't it, Paul? I mean, shed loads of money has been put into tennis at grassroots level, if you'll forgive the pun. And yet it still doesn't seem to be percolating through to having good tennis players, or great tennis players, which is what we need.
Yes, I do certainly think the grassroots part of any sport is absolutely essential, and that's where the funding really needs to be directed. Trying to create a big pool of players in any sport, certainly obviously tennis that I'm focused on, and then from that pool, the cream will rise to the top as such, and I do think that's essential. And the charity that I head up, we try and regenerate public park courts and get them used and well utilised, and we've got some great success stories. Just the other week, a child who'd picked up a racket just for the first time a year ago on one of our sessions. He really enjoyed it, took up some coaching, and has now won through to the road to the Wimbledon finals, which so he's playing at Wimbledon himself soon.
Is there an issue with elitism in tennis? Because on one hand, Tim Henman came from quite a posh background, but on the other, he did appear to really squeeze every last drop out of whatever talent he had and really pushed himself to the top. But he must have been given a start because he could afford to go to a tennis club, and he was part of a culture where playing tennis was relatively common.
Yeah, I mean, I know Tim very well. We were on the same tennis squad back in the old days, and I remember him from as young as 8 years old, and he was a very, very talented kid, and I'm not sure exactly how he got into tennis, but I know he did have a tennis court in his back garden, as I have been to his house, so perhaps that is true, and his parents certainly were very keen, avid tennis players. But yeah, we were on the same tennis squad, and he certainly did have that focus, commitment, and dedication. And yet, I don't think he was the most talented amongst the people on that squad as well.
Are you a football fan, Paul?
I am. I must say, yes.
Why are we so bad?
Oh, I don't know. It's all a bit depressing, isn't it, with football at the moment? I found myself avidly supporting Brazil last night in lieu of anybody else to really support. So they're my number 2 team, and I was passionately. Oh,
you were lucky. You were lucky. We were supporting Chile in our house, I have to say. But I suppose my question is this: I don't know whether you read an article that was in the Sun this week by Ian Wright, and he was basically saying it appears that if it's true, rather, that a lot of England footballers don't want to play for their country because they don't make money out of it, and the money that they do get, they give to charity. They'd much rather keep fit for their teams that they play in week in, week out in the Premiership. And Ian Wright was saying that is totally not acceptable. And if that was the case, then they should have to go and speak to families of loved ones who've lost their sons and daughters in Afghanistan. Do you think there is a lack of desire to play for your country?
Well, I think that may be the case. I mean, I was really shocked. I think a couple of years back, I can't remember a TV program I was watching, but I was watching Ashley Cole, and he was being interviewed as a question: would you rather win the double with Chelsea or rather win the World Cup with England? And without even a thought, it was straight away, oh, double with Chelsea. And I was really quite shocked actually to hear that. I thought, wow, you'd rather win something you've already won with Chelsea. I mean, not the double, but I think they'd obviously won the title and they'd won the FA Cup and the league, and yet you'd rather just do the double with Chelsea than lift the World Cup. You know, I was really, really shocked by that. I remember that quite well. That was a few years back now, and so maybe it is the case. And tennis, I don't know. I think it's a little different in tennis.
It's a more selfish sport, tennis, isn't it? Effectively. Yeah,
it's all about you, and I suppose the Davis Cup is the pinnacle event for obviously a team competition when it comes to playing for your country. And yes, there is arguments to say that that's not being put forward in many players' minds as a focal point, because you know, as you'll have seen in the Davis Cup, there are lots of top players who don't play for their countries. So yeah, the debate's open in all sports, I guess. Just before we let you go, who's going to win the World Cup? Well, I'm hoping Brazil. Certainly hoping Brazil, but I think Netherlands. I think they're looking a bit hot, bit tasty. Well, just Belgium for me. Okay, I'm just saying. Just remember where you heard it first. Paul Jessop, CEO, sports charity Tennis for Free. Thank you for joining us. Are we a nation of sporting losers? What do you think? 0345 6060.